Welcome to Charity Therapy, a podcast from Birken Law about building better nonprofits. I'm your host, Jess Birken. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Jess. How's it going?
It's going good. We're in a silly mood right now, so I'm excited to be recording.
Sometimes you just have those Friday morning silly moods.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so today we're going to be answering questions all about what happens when a nonprofit grows or they evolve past their original vision for what the nonprofit was supposed to be, for good or for bad, maybe. I don't know. A lot of our clients come to us because they're in the midst of some big growth going on with the organization. And whenever I'm talking to them out front, it's obvious that these are sometimes with lots of opportunities and exciting things going on, but often a lot of stress and fear that they're going to do something wrong.
Yeah.
So Jess, before I give you our first question, I have a little intro question for you. How do you think organizations can navigate this kind of growth and change in a way that sets them up to succeed?
Well, I think we all fantasize about organizational growth being really well executed and well planned. And we're looking good to our bosses and whatever. But sometimes, it's just really kind of painful. So my advice is sort of two things, I guess. First, always surround yourself with, not yourself, but the organization with professionals that can help support you in these times. And so that's your lawyer, your CPA, your change management consultant, your fundraising professionals, etc. Keep those folks close and consult them early, right? That's going to help you go through that pain a little less painfully. And then I think number two is just know that no matter how much you plan, you're going to hit the messy middle where things just feel impossible and the longest, hardest slog of your entire life, and everything is going wrong. And I know we've been there with our things. And I'm just here to remind you that that's totally normal when you're bringing big change, right? It's not easy. Nothing good comes easy.
Yes, absolutely. So, are you ready for our first question?
Let's do it.
This person writes in and says, I am a new to the board director at a nonprofit that's been around for 37 years. While trying to get up to speed and do my due diligence, I discovered that our articles of incorporation state that our purpose is to operate for the charitable support of a different organization. That other organization was dissolved years and years ago, and my organization somehow has continued serving the community. Are we committing fraud since we're doing different work than our stated purpose?
Oh, fraud. Yeah. Fraud is maybe a strong word. I hate to be at this board meeting with this person,
Going straight there.
We're doing it wrong. We've been committing fraud. I hope that's not how that's going. It seems clear to me, from the facts that we have, that nobody is trying to be deceptive. And I imagine things with the nonprofit just sort of naturally evolved when the other organization closed down. And I don't really know what happened there, but sometimes in my experience, the supporting organization is sort of like the bucket of money organization. So who knows why the supported organization closed, but this one obviously still had resources and is still alive and serving the community. And so all of that is good news. But this board member is right in that the purpose statement does need to match what you are actually doing on the day-to-day. And they are sort of driving the wrong C3 vehicle down the nonprofit highway, as it were. So that purpose statement is what the IRS gave them tax exemption for, and we're not really doing that anymore. So without knowing a lot more, what I can say for sure is that this organization needs to change its purpose statement. And you do that by amending your articles of incorporation and providing a new copy of the filed articles to the IRS with your next regularly scheduled Form 990 in the year that you amended your articles. They probably need a revision anyway, is my guess. 37 years is a long time. And the law changes, the IRS regs have changed, and they probably should get some advice from a lawyer on this one and not just wing it, because a lot of the state free incorporation forms are not suitable for nonprofits and they don't meet the IRS standards. So don't go it alone. That's my advice.
There you go. So maybe not fraud, but we have some work to do.
Yes. Yes. And that happens,
Right.
right? People put their articles in some file folder and don't look at it for 37 years.
Right. It's like these people probably had good intentions of just like, let's figure out the best way to serve the community in the way we can now, and just forgot to do the like filing step as people do. So makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we say, nobody gets into their nonprofit work for the paperwork, right?
Or if they do, I want to talk to them.
Yeah. Or we don't
Right.
want to
I
talk
want to
to
know
them.
how and why.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. I have another question for you. So this person says, I'm the executive director of a human services charity that's been around for a long time. Recently, we had a board member join who is a lawyer and encouraged us to work on updating our governance documents. As we reviewed,
Woohoo.
right? As we reviewed everything, I realized at some past point our organization was a voting member nonprofit. The articles still say this is the case, but we haven't actually run like a voting member organization for many years. We do hold our board members open to the community if anybody wanted to come, but usually nobody does. And we have an annual meeting luncheon where we invite the community to meet the board. How do we make our governance fit our actual operations today?
Wow, that's an interesting one. This is what happens when you forget to review your articles and bylaws every 3 years. I don't know if I would call this mission drift, but it's definitely like drift of some kind.
Jess, I'm going to stop you there really quick. Mission drift, like what is that?
Yeah, so that's some inside baseball. You're right. So mission drift is this idea in the nonprofit sector that like your mission starts out as being, let's save the snails, and then you got a grant to save the turtles too. And now you're also saving turtles. And then, well, some donor wanted to give you money for opossums. So you started saving opossums. And pretty soon, like, you're not really even doing the same things anymore because you've been like often just chasing where the money is coming in. And so your mission, what you're doing is sort of like drifted off course. And that's what we call mission drift.
Got it.
So I don't know if this is mission drift. I mean, we don't have a ton of information here, but they've definitely left the original course.
Governance drift. I don't know.
Yeah, something. So the first thing, well, the first thing is thank God for this lawyer on their board being like, hey, we should do this. Good job. And then the second thing is sort of like, you know what? You're not alone. Like I work with a lot of groups that need to update their governance documents. And through the process, we find out they are doing things totally different than what their articles or bylaws say they're supposed to be doing. It happens. Like don't freak out too much or think that you're a terrible nonprofit like this. You know about it now and you're going to fix it, right? So I hear the vestiges of a voting member organization there, right? We have our board meetings open to the public. That sounds like it used to be a members meeting. They have an annual meeting to elect the board at a voting member organization. That sounds a lot like their annual luncheon to meet the board. And essentially, like the voting member piece has gone away, but there are some little hallmarks there that are still remaining. Basically, this group doesn't need members. They haven't had members for a long time. And so they just, this is another situation where they need to do a full update on their articles and bylaws too, and decide what is the right member structure for them today. And sounds like maybe it's none. And just generally, like it's really important going forward to have the board or a committee of the board reviewing those governance documents every so often, just so we don't get too far afield, right? Like every 3 years, we should be looking at those documents, seeing if they need updating, asking our legal counsel to advise us if there are any law changes or regulatory changes we need to be aware of. That's a doable schedule. 3 years is not very often, and that's what's recommended by the Charities Review Council and their accountability standards, and it seems pretty appropriate to me. So once they've gotten through their governance update, I want them to put it on a calendar that you're going to do this again every 3 years. That's what we all should be doing.
Right. Not wait another 15 years to find that we're completely doing it differently again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Okay, Jess, so what's our takeaways here from these two questions?
Well, I think the first one's pretty clearly, you need to review your articles. Don't stick those suckers in a filing cabinet for 28 years. Dust that stuff off and look at it periodically, because if you right now go pull up your articles and they were made with a typewriter or a dot matrix printer, it's time for an update. Okay. And then number 2 is nonprofits are living creatures, and it's okay to change. It's fine. You're not necessarily committing fraud because you've changed, but you do want to do it consciously, and you do want to make sure that your governing documents follow you along on your change route. Sometimes I think we just get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to take a look at what course we're on. So, keep an eye on what course is. I guess that's the takeaway here.
Absolutely.
Basically, the articles are so boring, but you just got to look at them.
Sometimes the paperwork is boring, but it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Well, Megan, thanks for being here today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
If you all enjoyed this episode, do me a huge favor, share it with a friend, rate it on Apple. Go give us a rating. If you think it's a 5, I want to know it. If you have a question or story to share, we would love to hear from you. We'll keep it anonymous. Send me a note online at charitytherapy.show or give us a call at 612-208-9120 and leave me a message. Thanks for listening. All right, folks, that's our show. Be sure to follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Jess Birken. We want to hear from you. Send us a message at our website, charitytherapy.show. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at birkenlaw.com/signup. Charity Therapy is a production of Birken Law Office, PLLC. Our theme song is by Whalehawk. And remember, folks, this podcast is produced for your entertainment and is not a substitute for actual legal advice.